we saw the following teams pack. Paraguay, obviously, sent back home by France, and Canada sent back home by a team known as, what was the name of the team? By a team known as Morocco in there for you. And today, my favorites, known as Brazil, have obviously gone ahead to obviously come up and obviously get knocked out. And you know my 5 teams that I predicted to obviously win the World Cup. You know them very well. And they don't need any further explanation if I'm obviously to come out and obviously speak them. If at all you were regular on this channel, you very much know why I went ahead to obviously come up and obviously choose, you know, those teams in here onto a beautiful channel known as the Rokani Media Football. So guys, do the needful and obviously take this to the levels where you want it to be by subscribing to this channel and obviously taking us to the levels that we want to go, and obviously see to it that we hit the magic number of 30,000 subscribers in there for you. Brazil is out. Brazil is out of the World Cup. That is it. Brazil is the 3rd team to get knocked out of the World Cup. Now, I know many of you might be asking yourself, how come Rokani David came up and obviously gave Brazil to be his favorites? My reason for giving Brazil to be the favorites to win what we call the World Cup were all lying on the manager. Because such tournaments, if you don't have a team and you have individualistic players, what can help you win the trophy is the manager. That is it. And when you look at Carlo Ancelotti, he was one of the most experienced managers in this tournament as far as the entire coaching career is really concerned. At the World Cup, even Scaloni has more experience than him. Someone like Deschamps has more experience than him in there for you. And I tell you what, I thought that he could obviously turn this around. And in everything he did, for Brazil to win the World Cup, it was all in his hands because the players couldn't handle this. The only way they could handle this was through him. I'm talking about Carlo Ancelotti getting everything right. The moment he got everything wrong, I tell you what, there was nothing else left for Brazil to do in the World Cup. That was the passport that was obviously putting them on the next plane to obviously vacate the side of the US. So Brazil has been knocked out, and I have some people to blame. First and foremost, it's Carlo Ancelotti. Carlo Ancelotti. Why Carlo Ancelotti? I do believe when you are the manager of a team like Brazil and you have full powers, you can make any substitution that you want. And after seeing your team struggling in the midfield, you take off Bruno Guimaraes and you bring in Danilo. You take off Matheus Cunha. You understand? And I'm like, what is he doing? Because for me, I'll take off Casemiro because he was naked. Carlos Casemiro was naked, and all he needed was get in a Fabinho, play alongside Bruno Guimaraes, you know, because you've gone ahead to bring on Neymar, and you know to it that Neymar is one of those players that doesn't track well back. Then you need that other workaholic midfielder alongside Bruno Guimaraes, who was supposed to be who? Fabinho, you know, and you are like, let me play it safe and let Neymar and Vinicius do what they are doing. And in that game of football, I was not taking off Martinelli. I was going to switch Martinelli I was going to switch Martinelli to the right, such that he brings in those crosses. I've seen him really look good playing onto the right attacking side of the midfield. With Endrick going through the center, obviously, I think that would have gone ahead to make sense. And the substitutes for me would have gone ahead to be Casemiro off, bring in Fabinho. Cunha off, bring in Neymar. Then, I think at that, you would have gone ahead, obviously, get in what you want in there for you. Or you really take off the other guy. The other one who was playing as the right attacking midfielder in there for you. So in the substitutions, that's where he got it wrong. And that's why you saw to it that the game was 0-0. But when he really tampered with the team, get Martinelli out of the midfield because he was one of the players that was really doing some huge runs in there for you. You understand? And you saw to it that they were porous, and see how these goals come to pass. It's because of the poor substitutions that the manager went ahead to make. And you already saw that a goal was coming, because you would see a very huge gulf in between the defense and the midfield. You would see to it that Norway could get hold of that ball, and all these other Brazilian players were not tracking back. In this World Cup, if you're not defending as a team and attacking as a team, you don't have any chance to go anywhere. And I think they went ahead to bury all their chances. I tell you, they went ahead to bury all their chances. And I think Carlo Ancelotti will sit down there and obviously say, indeed, I was the one who went ahead to obviously make my team lose, because he had everything at his control. He would have gone ahead to obviously make the right substitutions, and those right substitutions would have gone ahead to result into Brazil doing the needful and obviously taking themselves to the next level, something that he failed to do. And I think he is the one to blame for Brazil to get out. Now, let's get to the other person to blame. Carlo Ancelotti is among also. Second point, Brazil gets a penalty. And guess who was brought down? It was Matheus Cunha. He's knocked down by a defender, pointed to the spot. I've seen some people say it was not supposed to be a penalty, but where did he touch the ball? He really fouled the player, And if at all you know how it's hard to get a penalty in this World Cup, it's really very, very, very hard to get a penalty in this World Cup. You know that very well. And scrutiny made on a penalty to be given, it really takes years, it takes a lot of scrutiny to obviously see you get a penalty at the World Cup. That is it. So when that went ahead to happen, I was like, now you've gone ahead to be given a chance. Now, who is Brazil's number one penalty spot taker when Neymar is off? It has to be Vinicius Jr. And this is where you offload your task that you're supposed to do, and you obviously hand it to the other guy. By doing that, Vinicius Jr. never need to eat that he's handing Norway a way through. He never knew that he's obviously handing Norway a way through, because Bruno Guimaraes, in the 90 minute match, there is no way he goes ahead of Vini in taking penalties for Brazil. Vinicius Jr. takes the decision, and Bruno Guimaraes takes the penalty and he misses it. Now, from blaming Vinicius Jr., not understanding the size of the moment in here, I go to Carlo Ancelotti. You know how hard it is to really knock out a team in the World Cup. Now, you see Vinicius Jr. handing the penalty or handing the ball to Bruno Guimaraes, and you stay shut. I tell you what, I've been let down by this manager. Carlo Ancelotti has let me down, because there is no way you tell me that you can hand over the ball. You can see Vinicius Jr. handing the ball over to Bruno Guimaraes, and you are like, all right, let him take it. I want to obviously hear journalists questioning Carlo Ancelotti over that decision. Who took it? Who made that decision for this guy to take a penalty? Who took that decision? I really want to know, because we need to know who made this decision. I tell you, if we don't know, then we won't obviously get to know the right person to blame. But I tell you, when I know who went ahead to obviously make that, I'll come here and obviously tell you, because that was one of the worst ever decisions to ever been taken. You see, when Neymar comes on, they get the penalty. Neymar shows Vini what he was supposed to do. You know, if Vini took that penalty, it had 90% chances of going in. That is it. So, if Vini took it, even if Norway had gone ahead to score 2 goals, I tell you what, Brazil got a penalty and Neymar converted it, would have gone ahead to go to extra time and maybe see Brazil kill off the game. But because of the earlier mistake that they did, obviously it resulted into that. You know? Now, not looking at let's obviously see Carlo Ancelotti. I've gone ahead, obviously, do the needful. I have one man in the comment section in here for you. He goes by the names of Dennis. Says, the truth is Carlo Ancelotti is to blame 100%. The substitutes made things worse. Obviously, they went ahead, obviously, make things worse. Then he says Carlo Ancelotti let Brazil down. And I don't know whether he'll obviously have this job. I think he might get sacked. But if I'm the Brazilian Federation, I don't sack him. I'm like, let's build a new team that can obviously go ahead and compete for the Copa America, that you'll know better, because this guy, I think, had, is it 1 or 2 games with Brazil, and then some friendlies, were they 2 or 3, and that's when he comes to the World Cup with his team. So I think they should grant him some chance to obviously maybe make his own team and know who should be out and who should be in, and obviously build a team that can obviously take him to where he wants to be, and the Brazilian side in there for you. So let me talk about Gabriel Magalhaes for the first goal. Gabriel Magalhaes. How does Erling Haaland go ahead to obviously score that goal? Because Gabriel Magalhaes, from the word go, he looked off. He was totally off. Do you remember in the second half, I think around the 60th minute, where Erling Haaland went ahead to obviously come up and obviously be prevented from scoring an empty net by the fingertip touch on the ball of Alisson Becker. Do you remember that? This guy had given up totally, and if he never did that, the guy had obviously gone ahead to give up. I tell you, and giving up obviously means a lot, and there are things that obviously speak volumes about that. So the guy came up and he obviously gifted the lad. So for me, I'm like, this guy is off. You know, Gabriel Magalhaes was totally off, and he was nowhere near good into this game of football. You know, second game, Haaland controls the ball. You know, nobody was pressing him from behind, and no one even came close to him. They let him control the ball, and after letting him control the ball, Erling Haaland composed himself very well and really directed a shot at Alisson Becker, and Alisson Becker couldn't obviously save it. You understand? So, if you've been following up Erling Haaland, he has been scoring such goals when he's even having like 2 defenders on him. Now, what do you expect from Erling Haaland to do when he's not having anyone pressurizing him from behind and in front of him? Obviously, that means he was obviously going to go and obviously shoot. So, I have a lot to say, but I really want to obviously conclude and obviously bring you the starting 11 for the side of England as they go into the game of Mexico. Nicholas Johnson, the players we are lacking. Now, let's talk about the players being lacking. Let me tell you, Brazil, however much their players never gave 100%, but the manager had to be in control. You get? The substitutions he made the situation worse. The situation was bad, but the substitutions made it worse. That's what explains that if the manager, no sooner the manager makes substitutions than Brazil concedes. Obviously, Casemiro looked naked. I don't know why he kept him for all that long. You understand? I understand he did the needful in the game of Scotland, but I do believe in that midfield, you cannot be having a player like Casemiro, for all those minutes. He was totally naked. Winning them a penalty in the end of the game, I think doesn't save you, because his primary role is to shield the back four. And if your primary role is to shield the back four and you don't shield it and you concede 2 goals, even if you go in front and obviously score one, it doesn't make sense. Casemiro was the reason as to why Brazil conceded against Scotland in the first. You remember that very well, and he really leveled and saw Martinelli score the winner, But if Martinelli never scored the winner and he maybe got knocked out, Casemiro would have gone ahead to blame. And I think it's high time Casemiro went ahead to obviously leave the team of Brazil. That is it. If I'm Casemiro, I'm retiring. That is it. Because what the game calls in for right now, he doesn't have the attributes that will obviously see him excel at Brazil at any particular moment. And I think Carlos Casemiro if at all Carlo Ancelotti is kept in here, he should really understand that a lot of things have to be taken now. But there are positives for your teams that you support. First and foremost, Arsenal. 1, Gabriel Magalhaes played very many games, got injured in the World Cup. He looked tired. Let him go and rest as he prepares for the preseason with the club of Arsenal. Today is 6th July. That's when they've gone ahead to be knocked out. That means he'll rest for the entire month. And I think at the beginning of August, that's when he'll come in through and obviously start training with the club of Arsenal. And I think we'll be having 3 weeks off. That is it. Meaning that around 28th, 29th, 30th of this month, that's when he'll be joining the club of Arsenal in there for you. And I think the preseason games, he'll obviously be ready for that. We talk about Gabriel Martinelli out of the World Cup, also preparing to know his future and verdict in there for you, because he is that player that I think Arsenal want to move on, and the player has to make his decision right about now after the World Cup, because he's out and now we want to see some huge movements in there for you. The other player is Bruno Guimaraes. Arsenal have shown interest in Bruno Guimaraes, and maybe the World Cup has been hindering Bruno Guimaraes to push for a move out of Newcastle to Arsenal. So we are yet to see whether Bruno Guimaraes will obviously come up and obviously push for this move to see to it that all goes on well as planned as a club of Arsenal. So those are 3 important players in there for you that have been favored by this decision in there for you. And the other guy is Vinicius Jr. working hard, working hard for this World Cup, scoring I think 4 goals in there for you and some assists. He told us that for him to make a decision on whether he's obviously going to start Real Madrid, he'll make the decision after the World Cup. The World Cup is done and dusted because for Brazil, but other teams are really proceeding. Vini will now come out and obviously let us know what he's looking at, because a decision has to be made. I know today the journalists will be looking at him. They'll be asking him the question on his future at Real Madrid. I know his reply will be, I need to first rest and obviously get this off my head and then think of my next step in there for you. And he'll obviously put in some hells for Real Madrid, that he loves the club, but we all want to eat that he wants out. So you look at that in there for you. And Arsenal is one of those teams that really want to sign him. Left with money on his contract, I think at 100 million euros. Vini will be available if at all he obviously raises up his hand to obviously leave the club of Real Madrid. And very many teams will obviously want to show interest in him. Man United, Liverpool, PSG, and very many others. Bayern Munich. So we wait and see how things pan out for Vinicius Jr. Ederson is another one that we have to talk about for Manchester United. And he was left with just one medical to do to obviously be unveiled as player of Man United. Now that they are out, I know he's obviously going to be flying to England to obviously do that remaining medical at Carrington. And then he will be unveiled as the first signing for the club of Man United this summer transfer window. Who else? Neymar, will he stay at Santos or not? Now, the big question is all about Don Carlo Ancelotti. Don Carlo Ancelotti has to obviously come up and obviously tell us what his future or where his future lies right now, into this particular game of football, and he disappointed me a lot, I tell you, and I do believe that a lot has to be done for Brazil, especially if they are to come up and really compete for the next World Cup in there for you, because they need to do a lot. They need to do the needful and see to it that they keep Carlo Ancelotti, because if you don't keep him, by the way, they even extended his contract after talks of Man United were up, So he had few time with the Brazilian national team. I do believe that if they give him more time, he can really build a team that can come in through and hugely compete, at the level that many think they can. So I think that's it. What else haven't I gonna hate to talk about? Who else? I think nothing much in there for you. But Brazil also was unlucky, missing a penalty. You saw the number of the chances created that really went begging. The goalkeeper making world-class saves on the night. Oh my. It all looked like the word curse was moving to the side of Brazil. Now, Norway, Martin Odegaard, Erling Haaland, to the quarterfinals. And they are writing history in there for you, right? Erling Haaland now has 7 goals. Erling Haaland has 7 goals. 7 goals in the World Cup. They're up with Messi after scoring a brace today. So, now they're waiting to see who is obviously going to be coming in through to face them in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. By the way, before I obviously go to this England game, I do have someone here. Nicholas Johnson says, for real, because Cunha had a wonderful game, he shouldn't have been taken off. And even then, his substitution 19 should have scored in his superb moment. Yeah. Hendrick had a very clear-cut chance, and I think he missed out. So, it's really very, 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 very bad, that you can come up and obviously put out all those chances and don't really kill off games in there for you. And when you don't kill off the game, it is there for anyone to win. Those are the unwritten rules of the game of football. If you don't kill off the game, it's there for someone else to win it. And Brazil came up and obviously took the chance. Norway came up and took their chances with their prolific number 9, the best number 9 in the world, that is Erling Haaland. And indeed, they're out. So, England, the winner between England and Mexico, will obviously come up and obviously face a team known as, what is it called? Norway. Now, England, 4-2-3-1. Pickford in goal. Quanch, right back. Nico O'Reilly, left back. McGahey is being played as McGahey is being played as a left-sided centre back in there for you. Then we do have Eric Konsa, right-sided centre back. Declan Rice and Elliott in the double pivot. Saka starts. I think his first game in there for the World Cup. Right attacking midfielder. Anthony Gordon, left attacking midfielder. Jude Bellingham, central attacking midfielder. And obviously Harry Kane leading the line for the side of England into this highly anticipated game. It's really going to be a hard game for England, and a hard game for a side known as Mexico. It's not going to be easy for any of the sides. And at this stage, any team can be knocked out, And I told you at the beginning of the game of Brazil, when I did the match day live, that Brazil are the favorites, but they can be knocked out by Norway. We've seen this happen, Look at how Argentina went in through to play into the quarterfinals. Is it quarterfinals or the round of 16? Oh my God. Cape Verde had gone ahead to obviously try to really humiliate the side of Argentina, I tell you. And Messi came up and did the needful. Lisandro Martinez came up and did the needful. And then later, Cristian Romero did the needful and ended 3-2 in there for you. Mexico do have the following players in a 4-3-3 system. Rangel in goal. Sanchez, right back. Galirado, left back. Vasquez, left-sided centre-back. Montes, right-sided centre-back. Lira, CDM. Mora, the young one there for you in the midfield, playing as a central attacking midfielder. Romo is being played as a box-to-box midfielder. Then Alvarado, right forward. Then Quincy Jones, who scored a beauty when they're knocking out... which team they knock out at the round of 32? I've forgotten that team. And Jimenez is strictly leading the line in there for you. So that is Mexico for you. They are coming up for a team known as England. England has a lot to do, and Thomas Tuchel has a lot to prove to us. You see to it that their two right backs are really injured, and that's why Kwanzaa is going to have to come in through, because Reece James is injured. Dejan Spence is also injured. That's why we obviously see this guy coming in through to feature predominantly that team. Now, England, as they look, Rashford starts on the bench. Anthony Gordon starting after putting in a brilliant performance for them to knock out DR Congo, registering 2 assists. I think the manager's gone ahead to go with that, get that on spot. I support Man United, but I tell you, on any day, I start Anthony Gordon ahead of Marcus Rashford. I tell you, because I do believe that Anthony Gordon is unselfish and he can create chances for his fellow players. Marcus Rashford doesn't do that. Very much selfish. Every time he reaches into those areas, he first thinks about shooting than creating an assist. Yet, in this World Cup, you'd want to have forwards who really think, or wide forwards, or creatives who think for their number 9 first. And this is what Anthony Gordon went ahead to obviously orchestrate in the game of Congo, and is back into the starting 11. Remember, after the first game, I think he never went ahead to obviously start. And that's when... I think the first 2 games, Anthony Gordon started. The third game, Rashford started. He really looked good. Round of 32, Rashford started against DR Congo, and they took him off. Gordon came on through, and his performances have seen him reclaim his position in there for you. So, I just love it as it is, and I think that's the best 11 would have gone ahead to put out. Though for me, I'm like, why doesn't he start Kobe Mainoo in that midfield? I do believe that there is no other player in the world that is like Kobe Mainoo. And if you're a manager and you don't know what to use Kobe Mainoo for, it's like, for me, you are a bad manager. You know, the only way he can obviously prove me wrong is when he wins the World Cup. But I tell him, if he's to win the World Cup, at a certain point X, he'll need to deploy Kobe Mainoo in that midfield. That is it. That workaholism of these players, Declan Rice and Elliott, it has an extent of its collapsing. And the brains come at play. And by the way, hard work sometimes is important, but what's more important is that technical ability, that football IQ that can obviously try to read the moment, that the opponent can't even think about. You understand? So that's exactly what you're really having in here. Brazil are out of this tournament. 30 minutes from now, the game of England versus Mexico will be on, and when it's done, I'll obviously come up and obviously give you my match reaction on whether England will be through or not. But I know they are favorites to go through, but it's gonna be a hard one. It can go either side. I cannot come out and really tell you that England will obviously go through against Mexico, but they will need Harry Kane to be at his best, because the world classness of Harry Kane saved England at the round of 32 against DR Congo. And what even kept England in the game was DR Congo not to kill off its chances. I don't think that when Mexico creates those chances, they won't kill them off, because they do have Raúl Jiménez, and you know how deadly he is. That defense, Mark Gehi for me is not the problem, but for me, my problem is Konsa. Konsa is a huge problem for me, and a huge concern in that central defense of England. And I'm like, I think he's average. He's average. At this level, with the centre-backs that England do have, I do believe that he doesn't serve a better purpose for this guy. So, sorry for this moment. But we wait and see what Konsa does today. But Wissa was killing them and tearing them apart. I don't know what this guy is obviously going to be doing to them. And who am I talking about? Raul Jimenez in here onto the Rokani Media Football. So we wait and see how things really pan out in this particular encounter. England versus Mexico. We wait and see. I'm having Patrick Ekring. Thank you, brother, for the update. Thank you very much. Arsenal should be busy now for Bruno Guimaraes. Yeah, I think that's one of the positives that Arsenal really get when a team like Brazil gets knocked out. You'll decide the future of Martinelli. Gabriel Magalhaes gets arrested and prepares for next season in there. Bruno Guimaraes, Arsenal will know what it's all about now. And even Vinicius Jr., if he says he's not renewing his contract at Real Madrid, it's a communication to teams that he's available. Can Arsenal go in for him? PSG, Bayern Munich, Manchester United, Liverpool? We wait and see how things really pan out. Obviously, my mind tells me Vini is not going to work in the same situation with Kylian Mbappe. He will 100% say, I'm leaving Real Madrid, because he believes he is at the level of winning a Ballon d'Or, and there is no way he's gonna win a Ballon d'Or when he's playing the same team with Kylian Mbappe. Mbappe has already gone ahead to come in through and outscored him in the 2 seasons has been at Real Madrid. So I think he'll think of really leaving. So guys, thank you for watching in through. Rokan David signs out. 30 minutes of streaming live, second live stream video, and 2 uploads already there. So we'll be back with what we think about this game of England when it's done and dusted. Thank you for watching in through. Continue to subscribe and keep it this beautiful channel of ours, and I love you all. See you